Now look, if it looks like a crisis, if it feels like a crisis, if it smells like a crisis, it is probably a crisis. But are Liverpool Football Club actually in crisis? I was naturally leaning towards no, but last night we did a live with our subscribers and 53% of that live, the people watching that live, said that Liverpool were actually in a crisis. So then I started thinking about it. I started actually weighing it up. What is going on at Liverpool? What mistakes is Arne Slot making? What's the culture of the club like? And I thought what we could do on this glorious Sunday morning is actually explore it. Liverpool's last Premier League win came in the Merseyside derby on September the 20th. That is over 1 month ago. That is an appalling tally, an appalling stat. And for anybody hoping of retaining a league title, it looks very difficult. But what we have to remember is that you do not simply land in a crisis. You do not go from being the champions and winning every game this season to suddenly being in a crisis in 4 games. It doesn't work like that. To end up in a crisis, there is a journey. It is a prolonged period of time. You start with a blip. You then end up in a slump. You then crash headfirst into a crisis. So on that journey, blip into slump into crisis, where are Liverpool? Now, what I'm inclined to think with regard to this is that Liverpool are on the precipice of a disaster, but it isn't quite as bad as some people are making out. Can you define a crisis in 4 games? Can you be in a crisis after a 4-game losing streak, particularly when you are the champions? Now, the thing that is most worrying for Liverpool, and this is what I keep going around in my head on, is it a crisis? It's a crisis because it isn't recovering. It's a crisis because there's no improvement. It's a crisis because they seem like they are out of ideas. It's a crisis because they don't seem like they're learning their lessons from previous defeats. There is now a well-formed structure on how to beat Liverpool. There is an existing template that you can use and you can replicate on how to beat Liverpool. Basically, Liverpool defeats goes like this. They will concede early. They will almost definitely concede early. They will almost definitely concede first. They will almost definitely concede first, concede early, and concede from a set piece. That is what happens. Now, these things can happen once, and that would be a blip. They can happen twice, and they're a slump. If it keeps happening, the repetition of it is what makes it feel so weird. And what I thought was so poor with regard to the defeat against Brentford, and that's the one that sort of tipped me over the edge, is that there's nothing surprising about it. You know, when Liverpool lost to Palace, there was an element of surprise. I think we were all shocked. When we beat them, when Chelsea beat Liverpool, I think, again, there was an element of shock. The way that Brentford beat Liverpool, there was nothing surprising about it. You know exactly what you're going to get when you face a Keith Andrews team. You know exactly what you're going to get when you face a Brentford team. They are going to be direct. They're going to use set pieces to the max. He's a former set piece coach. They are going to play on the counter-attack, and it's going to be an intense game. Liverpool did nothing to stop it. So when you are playing a team of Brentford's quality, a team who love and embrace dead ball situations, when you are playing a team who are as lethal from set pieces as Brentford, what do you have to do? Now, this is really simple. I'm not trying to suggest that I know more than Slot. Slot would know this, but it's so simple. What you do is you cut off the surface. At my level of football, that is what you do. If somebody likes the ball into feet with their back to goal, what do? I stand in front of them so that the ball can't simply be played into their feet. If you are playing Brentford and they love set pieces, the first and obvious thing to do is do not give them any set pieces. Make set pieces very precious. Make them work for their set pieces. And then you think about Brentford's first goal. It was a prime example of what not to do when you are playing a team like Brentford. Do not give them any throw-ins cheaply. When you are playing a Keith Andrews team with Michael Coyote in the team, do not give away a set piece cheaply. What does Mamardashvili do? What does Mamardashvili do? He literally slices the ball out of play for no reason. That is the definition of pressing the self-destruct button. You're putting your team under pressure. You're going to irritate your back line. You're going to irritate your fans. You've done it. You're the architect of this. Brentford didn't force Mamardashvili into a mistake. Mamardashvili slices the ball off his boot. That's unacceptable. So it's all very well, you know. We talk about Slot needs to do more. You talk about you talk about various individuals needing to do more. We often focus on players in an attacking sense. But if Mamardashvili is going to literally press the self-destruct button, what's Florian Wirtz meant to do? What's Arne Slot meant to do? What are the fans in that travelling corner of the away end supposed to do? It's dumb. It's dumb and it's unacceptable. So there is an element of that is that is problematic. But what I would always argue is that no title can be over after 9 games. It just can't be. But then on the other hand, I would argue that no champion will lose 4 games in a row. Like Liverpool lost 4 games all in the entirety of last season. I think it took them 53 games to lose the previous 4 compared to these 4. They lost 4 games in 53. They've now lost 4 games in 4. It's a real worry. And there are mirrors of what's happening to Liverpool this season with what happened to Manchester City last season. Manchester City's blip started at this time last year. They ended up losing 9 out of 11 games. And Liverpool now have actually equalled Manchester City's worst run from last season. We could see that Manchester City were looking like a team defeated. They resurrected. They ended up finishing third in the league, and they could have finished second. But Liverpool need to arrest this decline immediately because title winners do not look as disjointed as this. And there are other reasons why it does feel like a crisis. And it's not actually to do with Liverpool. The reason why this is so dramatic, the reason why this is so crisis-like and so important that Liverpool fix it now. I mean, like literally today. Arne should have them into Melwood or that new training ground, and they should be doing it today. It's a crisis not only because of how bad they are, it's a crisis because of who they're up against. The jeopardy involved, the alternative involved is so strong that you have to be brilliant. In other seasons, there'll be previous years, and you look at points tallies to win a Premier League title, where you can lose 4 in a row. You can lose 4 in a row, and you can somehow see a world where you could accrue enough points to win a Premier League title. Erling Haaland is in the form of his life. Geezer practically scores 2 goals a game. Can Erling Haaland drive Man City to a title? Maybe. It's a video for another day. He possibly can. But he's going to do his best to do it, which means you can't lose 4 in a row. Arsenal are looking like a juggernaut. Mikel Arteta has built something truly brilliant there. And when you compare Liverpool, this disjointed approach, this lack of spine, this lack of belief, this lack of composure, and you compare it to this slick juggernaut that Mikel Arteta has built, the Liverpool team, when you compare it to Arsenal's, the solidity in that Arsenal team, the leaders in that Arsenal team, it's a stark contrast. So everything that's going on at City and everything that's going on at Arsenal almost makes this more of a crisis for Liverpool. It's also what's at stake for Liverpool. Liverpool are desperate to retain a title. They haven't retained a title since the early, 84? Great managers have struggled to retain leagues. It's not an easy thing to do. Some of the greatest, Arsene Wenger, for example, never retained a league. Winning it and retaining it is a true definition of greatness. And Liverpool are a great club. They are a great institution, and they want to demonstrate that greatness. The fact that Liverpool have gone, 4 decades? 4 decades without retaining a league. When you think about the manner in which they retained them prior to that, the ease at which they retained them, the consistency with which they retained them prior to that, it really is unacceptable. So it feels like the chances of them doing it this season are ebbing away. But it isn't over. They're still fighting. If it all goes well for them, they could, if they win every game between now and the end of the season, which isn't going to happen, but just to prove the point, they're still on course for over 100 points. So there are still over 100 points at Liverpool, and if they do that, they win the league. The problem is now, they just don't have any room for manoeuvre. They are conceding goals at a rate that is just purely bewildering. It's baffling quite how easy it is to score against them. In 6 of their 9 games, they've conceded more than 2 goals. 2 goals or more. Again, you just don't win a league. And when you look at what's going on, when you look at Florian Wirtz, when you look at Mohamed Salah, when you look at Virgil van Dijk, there isn't enough going on. When you look at, do you know what? We need to talk about Arne Slot. I have been so complimentary about Slot. I think he's an excellent manager. And if you look at what he did last year, it was mesmerising. To land in a new league, dethrone the 3-time winners, stop Mikel Arteta, and do it by 10-point margin, it is massive. But Slot's getting it wrong at the moment. And his conduct is wrong. The way that he's speaking about it is wrong. I think he's an excellent manager, but his comments after the game yesterday, they shocked me. They actually shocked me to my core. He said something along the lines of teams have a certain way of playing against us, and it's a very good strategy to play, and we haven't found an answer yet. Arnie, brother, that is literally your job. That is literally the definition of what you are paid to do. You are paid to find out a way of stopping the opposition hurting you and finding out a way of you hurting the opposition. That's literally what you are supposed to do. So the fact that you couldn't find a way of stopping Brentford hurting you, when we know what they're going to do, they're going to come out 100 miles an hour, they're going to be desperate to take the lead, they're going to use set pieces to the max. How can you not find out a way of stopping that? How about you make sure that Mohamed Asfali clears the ball as long as possible, keeps it in play. You make it essential to him not to give away set pieces. Take a touch, even go short. Do not try and slice the ball. It was so amateur. It was like, do you know that infuriating moment that you get when you're playing football at our level of football? And you're like, what are you doing? Like, you're not capable. Like, I have it often with my mate who played centre-half. Like, he never scored a goal in his entire life, and he often has a shot in the last minute of the game. Like, wait, what are you doing? You're never going to score a goal, are you? Mohamed Asfali isn't great with his feet. Have a touch. You was not under huge amounts of pressure. Have a touch, go long with it. Have a touch, go short with it. Have a touch, make sure that you keep it in play. Do not give away cheap set pieces. And the control that Arne Slot would demonstrate on games last year. Do you know, I remember making the parallel between Jurgen Klopp's heavy metal football, and I said that you still had an element of that, but there is a control element to it. There is like an R&B. You know, that Dutch control, that total 90, Ruud Gullit, Dutch control. Everything's calm, everything's fine. We're just going to ooze control. Like when I was a kid and I was watching Ruud Gullit play football at Stamford Bridge, it was always that, give me the ball, it's fine. Give me the ball, I'm in space. Give me the ball, everything is all right. And Arne Slot had that. It went from like heavy metal football to R&B. I said it went from Metallica to Brandy and Monica, The Boy Is Mine. You know, Mace and Brandy sitting on top of the world. That's what it became. It became like nice, easy, timeless R&B classics. And that has gone out the window. That has gone out the window with a screeching, shuddering halt. And the game now, it feels like it's imposed on Liverpool. The opposition dictate the tempo of the game to Liverpool. And that's because the big players aren't playing well enough. Like Virgil van Dijk spent more time moaning at the ref than he did anything else. People don't like it when you criticise Virgil van Dijk. But he's moaning at the ref. He didn't look particularly happy with his teammates. I mean, I don't think his teammates could have been particularly happy with him. He gave away the penalty. We could have a discussion about that. But ultimately, it's a moot point, isn't it? It happened. And I think that he looked just dissatisfied at the entire situation. And on some level, I rate it. You know, it's all well and good. Having standards, having players like Van Dijk setting the standards. But he has to set them for himself first. He was the one that gave away the second half penalty. So whether he's inside the box, whatever debate you want to have, don't force a situation when you don't need to. Don't wildly kick at the ball and potentially miss it and potentially give away a penalty. It's all very well. You're looking around, you're fuming with your teammates. You're moaning at the ref every single time, even when it was obviously a situation where the ref got it right. You know, I just don't get how they're going to do this. But it was, I mean, I agree with Arne Slot on one thing. He said it was the worst performance that Liverpool have put in it. On some level it was. On some level it was. It was worse because it was cumulative. It was also the worst because it was off the back of that 5-1 win in Europe. I thought that was going to be the catalyst for them to wake up effectively. But it most certainly didn't happen. And I mean, there's no point in drilling down into individual performances, is there? We did it on the live. We did it on the live last night. But, I mean, at what point do we hold somebody like Florian Wirtz accountable? He's played 14 times. Well, it's 14 games into a season now, in all comps. At some point, your £100 million man has to start doing more. At some point, you know, I was very calm. So he's going to take time. You've got to let him breathe. You've got to let him kind of find his feet. And on some level, I stick by that. But you know, when there is a crisis or a potential crisis looming, people have to pull you out of it. And if it isn't your £100 million man, who's it going to be? You know, he could take it easy when things are going well. But now you need to step up. Now you need to peacock. Now you need to be on that front line and fight to get Liverpool back into the title race. Because basically any more defeats is over. Some would argue it's over now. I wouldn't. But they're going to have to do something amazing. They're going to have to win 12 in a row. Something ridiculous like that. And then we can talk about it again. I'm baffled. I am baffled. The only thing I would say is don't put it past them. Look at that goal Salah scored. Look at that goal. Like, I know he didn't do enough in the game. I know he didn't play well. But that's one of the best goals. Like the ease. Zinedine Zidane against Portugal, mate. It's unbelievable. Bang, bang, bang. Goal. Kelleher like that. In the back of the net. Bang, bang, bang. So they have the players that can do it. They have the skill, they have the experience, they have the exposure to winning. You tell me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, please do me a favour. Please click subscribe. Please give this video a like as well. And some hype points. Massively helps me out. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I'll see you all tonight. Big games coming up tonight. We'll be live on this channel, so make sure that you're around for that. Look forward to seeing what you have to say. In a bit.